Yeah.
I, be- I begin as always in the matchless name of Jesus. This video is going to be a review of The Walking Dead Season 4, Episode 2, Infected. So, man, this was an amazing episode. This was an amazing episode. It was better than the season premiere. Of course, the season premiere set up what was an idea of what was to come in this episode and set the stage. So let's jump right in. There's this unknown person who is feeding rats outside the cage, feeding rats or mice to the walkers to the walkers at the prison. And also, as Karen is heading on her way back home to the cell block from spending some time with Tyreese, seems to be an okay singer. Um, this There's a run-in with there's Walker Patrick going into the cells during sleeping people to open cells with open doors and trying to devour people. And then we cut to the credits. We cut to the opening credits and we cut back, and there we see Rick continuing his farming. Carl, who he seems to feel naked without his gun, asking for it back. And Maggie is asking for Glenn is taking pictures of Maggie in her sleep, and all of this is well. And also, Michonne seems like she's on her way out to go look for the governor again. When all of a sudden they hear a scream for help, and then everybody runs inside. And before that, I should say that Rick was spending a little bit of time with his little infant daughter. Judith. And all of this is going on before they hear a scream for help, and then all of a sudden they go inside and there's a lot of mayhem inside the prison as there are walkers everywhere that are being devouring other people, and there has to be shooting up and people, and Glenn and Daryl are killing up walkers in the process. Meanwhile, Michonne falls off her horse, and she gets pinned by a few walkers, and they shot. Carl comes to rescue and shoots them, which I have to give the zombie kill of the week to. Zombie kill of the week goes to Carl for that shooting the walkers with the sniper rifle, and ultimately at the end of the day, Michonne sprains her ankle, and Maggie has to walk her back to the prison. So at the end, Rick says some of the walkers went to cell block D, meanwhile, Carol, and I am loving Carol's character this season. Carol encourages one of the little girls to stab their father, who has died of a walker bite. About to die of walker bite, and when they find out she can't do it, neither of them can do it. I think it's Lizzie or Micah, but Carol has to run a knife through their father's head. So, in other news, and a little bit later, and this kind of leads to discussion with Carol saying, if you want to survive, you have to be strong. So it's like, I'm loving Carol's character this season. It's amazing. It's amazing how much she has changed from that. This abused woman has changed into it. This is an abused woman who has changed from a timid person to a very strong and assertive person who can stand up, who can give a tough love to people who need it. Anyways, there's this doctor named whom I thought was Pakistani, maybe he was Indian. This doctor named Dr. Submarinian says that there were no bites or scratch marks. It was just simply an infection, and that's, I guess, where we get the word infection from, where the episode's title from. Infection. It shows that probably an infection or a flu that's going around the prison. So, and of course, this leads some sort of council meeting with Rick, with Herschel, Sasha, Daryl, and probably, I don't know, some other guys. some other people, and about what to do. They probably decide to start quarantining people who are infected with this flu later, and affecting quarantine people who are affected with this flu. Meanwhile, there's a lot of motion in the prison, which I found was awesome. So because as I've said before in the past, I think that season 3 was my favorite season, even with all its flaws. But there was a lot of with all its action, but there's been a lot of action mixed in with the emotion, and that's very awesome. That's something we never saw in season 3. So, and that was amazing. Meanwhile, lots of walkers are piling up on the fence, and it's getting to a point where, okay, first I need to go back to this thing with Michonne. Maggie walks her back to the prison, and meanwhile she's with Beth, and Beth is talking about wondering what you call a woman who lost a child, and Michonne looks like she's trying to avoid tearing up. So she also adds that they want to show Michonne's also mad at herself for falling down and making a mistake, and she's like, and Beth is like, they want to show that they care for you, that you have a place in the group. And Beth, as I said before, is going all like, I wonder you call a woman who lost a child, and Michonne looks like she's about to tear up. Beth asks Michonne to hold Judith. She refuses, but she insists, and therefore has to hold her. And as she does, she starts crying. It's like, wow. I'm glad that we're seeing a lot more emotion from Michonne, and I'm also wondering, I wonder if she lost a child before the start of the apocalypse, or at the beginning of it, because that had to have been the case. And of course, if you read the comic book, you know that she had 2 children whom she lost at the presumably lost at the hand of walkers. I don't know if that's going to be the case in a TV show, because just because things happen in the comic book doesn't mean they're going to happen in the Walking Dead TV show. Anyway, that was a very good scene. One of my most favorite, apart from the Carol parts, and Denai Guerrera, the woman who portrays Michonne, really knocked that out of the park. I hope we see a Michonne flashback before the first half of the season ends. Anyway, there are walkers piling up on the outside of the prison, to the point that they're gonna cause the prison fences to come down, and and they try taking them out. It gets to a point where Rick needs to takes a truck, drives it out, gets the walkers' attention. He gets out a pig and decides to slaughter it and sets it out there for them to devour. Seems like another emotional scene too, for some reason. But anyway, it was really good. So, at the end of the chapter, almost near the end of the episode, it's like Rick takes off his bloody, battered, dirty shirt and he burns it. He also starts wearing his holster and his Colt Python, probably, and gives the gun back to Carl. Before I go further, I need to say that Carol went to Carl and hoped he didn't tell Rick, his father, about the about teaching the little children about how to use weapons to defend themselves. And I really like the interaction between Carol and Carl there. Anyway, back to the scene I mentioned before. Rick burns his shirt, burns his dirty, bloody shirt. He gets out his own Python, starts in the gun holster that comes with it, and he also gives Carl his own gun back too. So that's probably a good sign for us that Rick is back into the fore of leadership, which means he's going to be in the front of all the action, been in the thick of the action, which makes me happy. Anyways, this episode ends with Tyreese. He sees a trail of blood. He goes down a long hallway and he sees the body of his girlfriend Karen and another guy named David, all burned up, I think, and murdered. So it's like, wow. So there's really there's some sort of killer going on around there. Wow, this was an amazing episode. I'm really thinking it. So far, it seems like season 2 is so far, it seems like season 2 is going to shaping up. I mean, season 4 is shaping up to be an amazing, point blank awesome point blank amazing season. Because I have a feeling that it's going to top season 4 is going to top season 3. Because the reason I like season 3 is because it had lots of action in it. But I have a feeling, but it'll be, for me, it's even awesome if a season like a season of a TV show or an episode or a movie can combine action and character development, all emotional and emotional reactions all at once. So if it goes down, if season 4 continues this, it'll top season 3. All in all, I have to give this thing a 9.5. Amazing episode. Can't wait for episode 3. Amazing stuff. All right. Can't wait for it.